Luis, good to have you here today. Let's start at the beginning with your story. Where did you grow up? What was life like?
Well, I was raised and born in Manila, Philippines. I grew up with drunkards, drug addicts, pushers. I even grew up with some criminals. And it's not a happy place to be. There's poverty all around me. And I grew up in a home where saying I love you is not normal.
So you're a pastor now in Seattle. That's a long ways from Manila, and following Jesus the way you are is a long ways from your family. Let's talk about your Jesus story. How did the two of you meet?
Well, there's a group of Christians who came to our community to do some Jesus film. And I wasn't good about it because one thing that my mom told me is that I'm born a Catholic and I'm going to die a Catholic. So when they came, I was against about it. And after that, they started the Bible study in my neighbor. And I was a persecutor for them. Because whenever they do the Bible study, I would walk around back and forth in front of the house.
How old are you now at this point?
I might be at the age of 12.
12 years old.
When I did this.
Yeah, and you're already resisting the gospel.
I am resisting the gospel due to the information that my mom fed me.
Right.
And so I would take off my clothes and yell outside against them, curse. And then I did that for a couple of weeks, but there's this one weekend that they did it again, and I'm planning to do it again. I found out inside that my friends were there.
Your friends are in the Bible study?
Friends in the Bible study, friends from my gang where I belong. So I decided, okay, it's unfair. I must be there too.
So you're in a gang already. At age 12.
I am.
And some of these gang members are going to the Bible study, so you're conflicted as to whether you should go with them or whether you should interrupt. So what happens?
Yes. So I knock at the door, put on my clothes, knock at the door, and to be exact, when the Bible study leader opened the door, the first words that came up to his mouth was, "Brother, thank you for coming. I want to let you know that Jesus loves you." With that, I was about to cry, but I hold it to myself because I don't want my friends to call me, I'm not a real man.
Right, because you're crying.
Yeah.
What did you expect him to say?
Well, nothing. I expect them to be mad at me because
they knew that you were the one disturbing the Bible study.
Yeah, they knew me. So, but then they accepted me that day, and I attended the Bible study. I enjoyed it, and after that, the leader invited me to join the Sunday service, which I said yes, but I'm not really serious about it. So, but following weeks, I had this fight with my mom, and usually when I have a difficulty or problem, I would just walk around the community, and then after that, I would feel better. But that Sunday, I felt being directed to a place where the church was. And so, in the end, I found myself in the church. A lady with a deformed mouth was singing a beautiful song, which the lyrics of that song is, "There's no problem too big that God cannot solve it. There's no mountain too tall that God cannot move it. And if you carry the weight of the world upon your shoulder, I know, my brother, that He will carry you." That song touched my heart and led me to accept Jesus Christ as Lord and my Savior.
So did you open your heart to Jesus that day? Are you still 12 years old at this point in your story?
Well, yes.
Okay, so you go back home, and do your parents find out that you went to the Bible study, you're
Yes.
following Jesus? How do they respond?
I told them that something new is in me, and I became a born-again Christian. At that, they got mad at me.
So how did you survive? How much longer did you live home?
Well, until I was about to go to the Bible school, when I told them that I'm going to the Bible school, they told me, leave the house. If this is really what you want to do.
So is that like after high school? So now you're 16, 18 years old. So you lived with tension in your home for another 5 or 6 years.
Yes. I was told, instead of going to that church, just find a job, help the family.
Aha.
One particular thing happened to me when I was about to graduate in Bible college. I was so excited to go to my mom and tell her, I'm graduating, would you be able to be there?
Right.
No, they said, they cursed. They said bad words to me instead, and they said the same thing. Find a job, help the family.
Uh-huh.
So I was broken that day, going back to the Bible school, knowing that I'm going to graduate without the support of my family.
You felt alone.
I felt that way.
Did you still feel the presence of Jesus even when you felt alone from your family?
Yes, because of my Christian family, my pastor and the rest of the members of the church were so supportive about that. And I felt the love of Jesus when I saw my pastor supporting me on that day.
Wow, that's a wonderful thing. I mean, it's a terrible thing to experience, the rejection of your family, but the family of God, much deeper. Wow. So you graduate from Bible college in the Philippines, correct?
Yes.
And then what happens?
And then I prayed for my family, for their salvation. By the time I came to know Ruth, my wife now.
You met her in the Philippines?
I met her in the Philippines in the Bible college. And when we are already in a relationship as, engaged, I told her, I want to do something for my family. I want to lead them to the Lord. I think this is about the right time. And so I asked Ruth, would you come with me and I will share the love of Jesus or the gospel to them today. I did. We went there, gathered my family members. They all listened when it comes to prayer of salvation. I can't do it.
Oh my.
That was the most difficult prayer that I did because it's a mix of happiness, excitement, and at the same time, I cannot believe I'm leading my family now to
because it's something you've longed for so long. Are they all responsive, everyone?
Nobody said no. They just followed me word by word in that prayer. And after that prayer, I was like, freedom. Thank you, Jesus.
How many members of your family did you lead to the Lord?
Well, number one, my mom, and then my sisters, two of my sisters, and then the rest are my niece and nephews accepted the Lord, and some of my brothers.
Okay.
There's about 10, 15 people there.
And your father?
My father was already deceased.
He's already gone. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that is a powerful, powerful chapter too. So, somehow you ended up in Seattle, and somehow you became a church planter. Tell us about that.
There's this church in Hawaii that petitioned us to serve as a youth pastor, worship pastor, and a language pastor for Tagalog. We were there for about a year, but then the pastor who petitioned us died. Not even a year, when we were there. So we're like, what now? So we thought, let's pray for a new direction. So there's two churches that was trying to talk to us about helping them in the ministry. One is a Japanese church, one is a Filipino church. The Filipino pastor came back and asked again, hey, can you please help me in the ministry? I'll give you all of these things.
Right.
You don't worry about it.
Right.
And I said, Pastor, sorry, this is not really the direction of God in my life. But then he said, okay, if you don't really want to work under me, then just go to Seattle. And when he mentioned the word Seattle, I said, where is it? And he explained that there's a group of Filipinos in Seattle that they don't have a pastor, and we could be a pastor to them. So prayed about it for a week, and then returned to him and said, okay, we will go. But the sad part of this is that when we arrived here, that was 2003, December, it was very cold. We started looking for those people. One by one, we found them. And one by one, they said, we dissolved the church about 2 years ago before you came.
Right.
And so we're like, oh my gosh.
You have no group to lead.
No more. And we don't have a job. We don't have a family member here. No relatives.
So did you question whether Jesus really wanted you in Seattle?
I did actually. The question specifically is this: Lord, did we hear right from you? Is it time for us to go back to Hawaii or Philippines? And we were both discouraged during that time. But then we prayed and prayed and prayed. And then until such a time we decided, let's stay here. There's a big reason why the Lord allowed us to come here. And let's find that out. Let's find that out.
Something has happened between that day when you landed and there is no more group for you to lead to your church today, because now you're leading a church with hundreds of people, multiple campus, multiple services. Okay, you got to give me the steps in between.
With the first church that we planted, we started laying our hands on I-5, on every subdivision we go to. We would lay our hands. Even some subdivision that there's no houses yet, only model homes. Okay. We would ask and pretend we're buying house or a house. So, but then our ulterior motive is to just lay our hands to the empty grounds and pray that someday we'll have members here. After years, I would say 5 years, found out that most of our members came from there.
Those places where you went and
prayed. Those places that we lay our hands into. And until now,
right.
With that specific subdivision that we laid our hands into, we're seeing families coming to Christ in that place.
So where did you launch your first campus?
We launched our first campus in Tukwila,
okay.
In a warehouse. We saw a lot of conversions. New believers coming
Mostly
in.
Filipino.
Mostly Filipinos.
Okay. Now remember that you went to South Center Mall.
The door opened for us inside the mall to have our own permanent location.
And you
there.
Grew significantly while you're in the mall.
Significantly from, I would say, 250 to 400 people when we were at the mall.
Right. That's a big jump. And how long were you at the mall?
18 months.
And this was an
18 months at AMC, 18 months at the permanent place.
So you had an old Borders bookstore that you had at the mall.
Yes.
Pretty good space. And you were there for 18 months.
Then we bought the building in Angelik.
Now, your church right now is about how large? About 400 or so?
350, 400.
Okay, right around in there. All right. But I wanted to know how many campuses you've had, because you're 10 years old. So how many times did you move during those 10 years?
12 times.
12 times. About every 8 months you moved.
Yes.
That's what it would average out at. Wow.
Starting from a 2-car garage down to the 3-story building, permanent building.
And now you've bought permanent property, and now you're launching a new campus as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
We thought one service, 5 p.m., but we were forced to do 2 services.
On your launch?
Yes. And I am unaware of what's going to happen last Saturday because both services were full of people. I saw Indian people, I saw Korean people came to the church, I saw some Anglos attended the church, and Filipinos as well. So I was really excited about Auburn campus.
You know, there's an old adage that says you can burn the candle at both ends and you get more light, but the candle doesn't burn as long. And during this process over the last 10 years, your own body, God's temple, you took a toll. What happened to you physically in the process of all of these changes, planting a church? You really paid a price for this sacrifice of getting this church started. Tell us what happened with you a few years ago.
Almost 2 years ago, I had a heart attack at the age of 40. I thought it's not going to happen to me. I thought I'm healthy and strong. But then that day that I dreaded to happen happened. And I just felt that I cannot, walk or run for 30 minutes anymore. 15 minutes, I'm grasping for air. And I noticed that in my body. And because maybe I experienced a lot of stress in the ministry, some discouragements, and challenges, big challenges in the ministry that made my body really weak. But, I thought there was nothing wrong with me until that day happened that I was about to die. I didn't know I was having a heart attack.
Right.
When I was at the hospital with my wife, talking to my doctor, my cardiologist, she was trying to tell me that, because I'm denying it, no, this is not a heart attack.
It can't be, you're only 40.
I don't want to accept that thought. I'm talking to my cardiologist. I said, no, I don't accept that. I don't believe you.
So she did a test on you, and it was indeed a heart attack.
It was indeed a heart attack. So she put me in the process and put a stent in one of my arteries that's clogged.
Right.
90%.
Wow.
Clogged. And when I was at the hospital, Don, honestly, I was looking at the door, and I'm just waiting for a white, long hair image to show up.
Waiting for Jesus to come get you.
Because I thought, Lord, is this it?
Yeah.
So, but then there's a big realization after that. One is that I realized that I can die anytime.
All of our lives are temporary, aren't they?
And I have a limit.
Yeah.
There's a margin.
Right.
So, and that I'm not always strong.
Right. So obviously you've had to make some changes in your thinking and in your behavior. What changes have you made?
I disciplined myself, because I also realized that part of the reason I experienced that heart attack, not only stress, but also lack of discipline when it comes to my food intake. And the third reason for that is hereditary. I got it from my father. My father died of heart attack at the age of, guess what, 40.
Oh my goodness.
So I was due. I got it. I got the genes.
Wow.
Can I share with you what I did, really?
Yeah.
Be specific?
Yeah.
So I decided for spiritual discipline, I would wake up 4 a.m. to do my personal devotion.
Right.
And then after that, I would go to the gym. So that's for the physical. And then after that, I would spend some time with my wife for our devotion.
Right.
And that's when we talk about the church and pray about the church. And then after that, we go to the church to work. So these are,
That's your new routine.
New routine. And additional to that, I started journaling.
Yeah.
I started journaling all the thoughts that I would get out of the Bible.
Right.
And it's helpful.
It is.
I'm on day 21 this morning. And it's so helpful
Right.
for me.
I'm not much of a journaler myself, but I started writing my prayers at the first of the year. So I got a book, and I write out my prayers, and you find yourself processing and then referring back to that period of time. So this is good. I actually had heart surgery in my 40s too. So there's some things that we have in common. A lot of young ministers kind of feel like they are invincible, that nothing could ever happen to them.
Yeah.
And you're always going to feel like you're 25 or 30 in your brain, even when you're 60. You still feel that way.
Yes.
What advice would you give to a young man, especially a young church planter, that's burning the candle at both ends, maybe not taking care of their soul or their body the way they should, and they came to you and said, Luis, I heard your story. Give me advice. What would you tell them?
I will give them the same steps that I'm taking right now. And those steps, from spiritual discipline, physical discipline, food intake, rest, having fun. On top of all that, you can start now. Don't procrastinate. Don't put it behind you.
Right.
Get ahead of it.
Right.
Do it now.
That's good. You know, ministry flows out of relationship. And sometimes I have believed the lie that ministry flows out of hard work. And I'm willing to work hard, and I get up early too. And I know you are willing to work hard. But if we work hard to the point of abusing ourselves and are not good stewards of the resources that God's given us, our time, our body, then it really doesn't move ministry forward. I need to care for my soul. Otherwise, I find myself in a world of hurt.